Okay, so next we will move to our 15-minute public comment. Since we probably have a lot of people here to speak, I would push it to about 20 minutes. And one thing I just wanted to say is that, in our last council meeting, we had some unfortunate issues where we weren't exactly following the rules that govern our public comment. I just ask for your partnership very simply in being respectful, not name attacking, not abusing, and not trying to hurt people with your comments. I'll just speak for myself that I have gone through a lot of abuse as a child and as an adult. So when people raise their voices, it really puts me on edge. And I think that there are others on our council that have been through similar things. And so I just ask, please do not yell at us. Please do not try to hurt us, because I don't want to do any of that to you. And I will unfortunately have to enforce against it if there are hurtful remarks toward people, because I just don't want that to happen, so we can all feel heard, we can all feel respected. Okay. So our first names are going to be Natasha Ramming, Amla Folsom, and Nathan Sims. Sims or Sims? Sims. Thank you.
Press the button.
Push the button there, and then you'll be on. Thank you.
Okay, hi. My name is Natasha Raming. I'm here to speak about the homelessness issue that we have going on, and I would like you to do more. I appreciate your update from the people operating the current shelters, but what I think needs to be done is that you allow more equity and diversity in terms of meeting this population, because that was my takeaway, is that the approaches that are going on right now are not equitable. That means they're leaving people out, and there are people that are dying in our streets. I would like you to open up the ordinance to non-religious nonprofits in terms of this emergency homelessness situation that we're dealing with. I would like the mayor to actually declare a state of emergency that will allow for proper sanitation services to be provided. I'm from San Diego, where there was a gigantic Hep A outbreak that they're trying to contain. This is directly related to the lack of proper sanitation services being made available to people that are living on the streets. That can happen here, as well as there are many other costs that we as taxpayers pay, because the address of this problem is only it's only fitting a certain number of people. We had like 742 people homeless in the last point in time count. That was an increase from the previous year. It's cold outside. I'm freezing in here. People need a place to get warm. They need a place to dry their clothes. They need a place to wash their clothes. They need a place to wash their hands. They need a place to take a shower. They need a place to go to the bathroom. And most importantly, they need stability. Let tiny homes be built, please. Please. I personally would like to encourage you all to contribute to the tiny home project. Am I done now?
No, keep going. 20 seconds.
Financially, get the pilot rolling so we can see that it works, because we have another winter that's going to be coming. Let's see what the outcomes are. I have donated over $5,000 personally in the last year to trying to help people. That includes clothing. They need storage for clothing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next we'll move on to Anlaya Fossum and Nathan Sims.
Hi, my name is Ann Leah Folsom. I was just coming to represent for the homeless, saying that I really, really appreciate all the churches are doing to step up and help with the issues, but personally, I believe it's the job of the government to be taking care of the homeless, and I would like to see more the church being a support to the government, and declaring a state of emergency for homelessness would be, I believe, a better way of approaching this issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Nathan Sims, followed by Jim Peterson.
I'm Nathan Thomas Sims of the Lummi Nation. I work with Stepping Stones in partnership with Homes Now, Not Later. We have a project involving shelters and tiny homes, and I wanted to, instead of delving into the intricate nature of the tiny houses, I wanted to inform you that I have self-sufficient designs in that project, which have already been approved by the Planning Commission at Lummi Nation, who have given us permission to build 100 tiny houses on our land. And I thought that this is not only a project that addresses the homelessness, which is a situation we plan to solve. This is something that I think can be useful for people in general, as cities have become so large, it affords people the anonymity that we seem to get away with anything and everything. In small villages, like tiny house villages, we can police ourselves, eliminating big government and many of the issues that come with that. These communities encourage people to lift themselves up and become more than they were, overcome the adversities that they've faced. And one thing that a lot of people don't realize about these homeless people is that they're survivors. They have overcome adversities that we can barely fathom. These very well may be the leaders of tomorrow, should a time come when we have trouble finding food, shelter, or water, because I don't, for my part, think that cities are sustainable. We strip the natural resources. We have to import so many goods that we need to think about the future. We need to think about our children. We need to think about how we're going to continue, not only as a society, but as a species. So I put this to you that we need to think about these things. We need to plan for these things. We need to prepare ourselves to build this new future. And we need to create courses to educate ourselves and our children. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we'll hear from Jim Peterson and Marcus Stidham, followed by Josh Bowman.
Thing to put up this graph? I don't know how it works.
We'll definitely help you out there.
That'll work. That's good enough. I'll wait for you to get over there and start the timer. Hi, my name's Jim Peterson, president of Homes Now, also a resident of Sudden Valley. I want to talk about criminalization of homelessness. What I'm here to ask is I would like to see the city look at repealing the no sitting, no lying ordinance in downtown. I think it's insane to give a homeless person a ticket for $150, which in the end leads to an arrest. I'd like to see you stop the homeless sweeps, the homeless camp sweeps, until you have a place to put people, whether that be a safe encampment or more beds or whatever. But last month, this is just for January, there weren't 33 camp sweeps. There was 16 notifications of illegal camps and 13 sweeps last month in January. The thing I find ironic when I look at these statistics and I get them off the police activity log is it says 13 sweeps, but it was only 6 locations. So you're taking a person from this location and sweeping them, and then they move to that location, you're sweeping. They're just going around in a circle. I don't see how that's solving homelessness. I don't see how that's helping homeless people at all. I just see they lose their stuff and they got to find new stuff, and that raises a crime. We see urinating in public, people getting arrested for that. If there's no bathrooms, where are they supposed to go? It's one of those human things that we don't have a choice as human beings whether we go to the bathroom today or not. I just think that the things that I see in this is 9 arrests, and 4 of them were for sitting. I mean, do you expect people to stand 24 hours a day and never sit down? Getting arrested for peeing in public. Well, if there's no bathrooms, where are we supposed to go? We hear it all the time from the drop-in center, and I'm not going to pick on them, but we hear from the homeless when we talk to them at the summits, they don't feel safe. We hear women say they've been raped there. We hear women say they've been sexually molested there. We hear people talking about the bed bugs and how they don't feel safe and they have PTSD. And if you're this close to somebody, that's not a good thing. So I just urge you to look at these ordinances and ask yourself, is it really helping the homeless or is it hurting them? And if you're giving them a $150 ticket, they're homeless, they probably don't have any money. How are they going to pay it? So they don't pay it, so then they get caught, and then they get arrested. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Next, I think it says Marcus Stidham, followed by Josh Bowman and Doug Gustafson.
Good evening, council members. Thank you for your time. I'm Marcus Stidham, Marcus D. Stidham, as many people know me. My history here in Whatcom County, I came out here in '84 as a young teen. I was kicked out of my home in Minnesota, and I've been on my own. I found my way onto Lummi Island, luckily, where they allowed me to be there. And I even started into high school there, kind of couch surfing a little bit. I had a little bit of help from friends of friends. As summer came on, I realized that I could be a reef netter on Lummi Island. How unique is that? Well, while I was there, doing my reef net thing, I found out that, well, there's these villages here. They're tiny house villages. We called them cabins. And not only were they out on Lummi Island, they've been all over in our community. They are part of our culture and our heritage here. These places have always been here, until recently, actually, until the late 80s and early 90s, when it kind of got cleaned up. The city made sure that they cracked down on any of it. Who remembers the lumpy dumps and cheap housing like that? So that really is, that's where I'm coming from. I paid $20 a month rent in a fish village. It was romantic. It was heaven in a community where they let me do that. I got to go to high school because of that. $20 a month rent, And the owner of the shack that I lived in got to have me there next season to fish for him again because he valued me. Just like so many farmers do, just like orchard workers, logging camps, it's part of what we've done here. Fishing camps, cannery camps is what we had here until we cleaned them all out. Those same people are here now. The same people who haul bricks and dig ditches and do the work that built this community. Those people are still here, and they just can't afford to live here. They do want a roof. They want the decency of a roof they can come back to. The sweeps are deplorable. They are inhumane and insane, and it's a huge waste of money. If we can find a way forward to get back to where we started, we really should get started now. And that is my plea. I am one of the last people in Whatcom County to enjoy tiny home living until now. And it worked for me, and it will work for them. There were artisans, veterans. These people made this county rich, and they will again. Let's give them a chance. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcus. Next, we'll hear from Josh Bowman, Doug Gustafson, and Byron Sprague.
Hello. My name is Josh Bowman, and I lived in Bellingham most of my life. I was on and off the streets in my teenage years, and ever since 2008 when I left, I've noticed the numbers have increased since then, and noticed a lot of the resources do not help the homeless through the month. Food stamps that can be food resources to get through the month is ridiculous. Just alone, one homeless person will get $192 for the whole month. That will only last me maybe a third to a half of a month. I noticed when the tent city was in front of City Hall, a lot of homeless community asked the mayor that we need a safe place to go because the drop-in center is full, same as the mission. Citizens ask, why do you sleep outside if there's a mission and drop-in center? Well, I'll tell you why. How would you like to sleep next to someone that is either coming off of drugs, alcohol, and who knows what diseases that are going around? Also, I think anyone would want someone they didn't know try and bump into you at night while you're sleeping. We as a homeless community have been trying to get their voice heard, but honestly, if the mayor doesn't show concern towards any of us, far as I know, she doesn't know what to do about the homeless situation because she didn't want to do anything besides keep the sweeps going and take things that wasn't hers and throwing it away, even though a lot of items were good. What gives the city the right to come or even take someone's belongings? For example, how would you like if someone just came and took everything you had at your home and just threw it away like trash, even though it's not trash? You would probably call the police and make a report, right? Well, it's the same thing as stealing, burglary, and any other felony charge. I know there was an emergency ordinance where there can be a safe place to camp. Without land, it will not happen. The homeless community had 2 great family members pass away this year. Where was the mayor when this happened? Why didn't she come speak at the funerals?
Okay, I need you to stick to the issue, please, not attack us.
That shows me that when she said no to declare a state of emergency, she doesn't even want nothing to do with the homeless. I can find a bunch of places that are vacant, apartments for rent that can most likely be used for low-income housing, homeless with SSI, etc., to get most of the homeless off the streets. Most of that can be done within only 1 to 3 months or even sooner. Not once have I ever seen a laundry voucher since I've been homeless. As the homeless community try to speak out for help, we really need storage, bathrooms, dumpsters, where there are any campsites so they can put their trash, fire pits, a place for laundry, monthly bus passes, and especially a place to shower. It is very disappointing to hear that the mayor wants a church to find land. Why in the heck would you ask a church that is also a nonprofit organization to find land when the churches are helping the homeless with items that we need, but yet why get new things when you're going to throw it away? It's not the church's responsibility to find land. Their responsibilities are to love one another and treat one another as you would be treated. But we are entitled to have a safe place to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, Doug Gustafson, Byron Sprague, and Amy Glasser.
Hey, how's it going? I was just gonna say a few things about the current homeless ordinance 2018-001 that talked about homeless encampments. So the first thing that I want to say about it is that as it stands, it doesn't actually open any new doors up. It doesn't provide any dumpsters. It doesn't provide any porta potties. It doesn't actually allow new things to happen. All it does is it puts a new restriction on religious institutions to provide help for a temporary encampment. But if you were to change the ordinance to allow for non-religious nonprofits, and if you were to change the land use to be allowed on religious land or public land or private land, that would actually open up your ordinance to something new. But as it stands now, all it did was it added some new restrictions to a religious institution. So I would urge you to actually change that ordinance in that way to improve that. Shoreline has done it, Bothel's done it, Seattle's done it. We can do it here too. It's not that hard. one thing I was encouraged about, I saw in the ordinance that there was a requirement of 24-hour, 7 days a week contact for any management organization. I was actually happy to hear when I talked with Lilliquist and Sepler that that one of the 24-hour contacts could actually be one of the residents of any temporary encampment. So that was one area I was concerned about. I was happy to hear that a resident could be, it didn't have to be like a fully paid staff member or anything like that. But I would ask that you just review your ordinance, you try to figure out ways to open it up to allow for new things rather than just adding some new restrictions on top of something that's already there. And you know, it might make the homeless issue that you're facing a little bit easier. You know, if there's a few open doors, it doesn't solve everything, but it opens up a few new opportunities. So just something to think about, and, you know, thanks for listening.
Thank you so much. Okay, Byron Sprague and Amy Glasser. Okay. So next we'll hear from Amy Glasser. Amy, just a quick pause. Council, we have about 6 more speakers, and they're here for other issues, so I'd prefer to get through it if that's okay. Okay, great, thank you. Amy, please.
Amy Glasser, Bellingham, Washington. I'll start by saying that T.J. Duffy died on January 20th, 2018, and his stepmother wanted me to ask the council. It's been 50 years. We know about the homeless, spend $5 million a year. Why did her stepson die of exposure? Now I'll go on to my statement. 60 days since the city evicted the homeless on City Hall grounds. 21 days since the city signed an emergency ordinance to address the lack of safe campsites. I want to identify to the community what the mayor and the city have been able to do since those milestones. Nothing. No campsites, no legal place to live if you don't have a home and you don't want to stay at one of those shelters. Tough. Die. Not a single porta potty added to the city, not an existing porta potty that's opened after 10 p.m. No dumpster put around so people don't have to worry about throwing their things away that they were just given. No storage lockers, even though we're told that it was being worked on since this summer with safe storage. It's over 6 months. Where are the storage lockers for people so they can look for jobs, so Josh Bowman can have his things safe so he can get a job? No laundry vouchers, no dignity, despite people begging for a modicum of respect and dignity at the last few council meetings. Nothing. Has churches stepped up in the last 3 weeks since this ordinance? None. Not one. We knew that was going to happen. They weren't stepping up when they didn't have rules placed on them. And the emergency ordinance just placed more rules on them. No churches have stepped up, just 11 pages of rules. I wanted so badly to go home after the last council meeting and find out that the emergency ordinance actually was going to do something for the homeless. And I went home and read those 11 pages and cried because it did nothing, and it's done nothing, and you've done nothing. And nothing has happened to the people sitting outside, and I'm really sorry if I hurt people's feelings, Roxanne. But tough shit. People died. Okay.
I need
okay.
decorum.
Okay.
I need decorum, please.
Okay, you got decorum. 2 people died in January. T.J. Duffy died because he was cold. Tina Dargan died because she was in a motel because she didn't have a safe place to be. People have died, and you want decorum? I'm not done. Your ordinance, the purpose of the ordinance is to allow and establish a review process for location sitting operations of a tent camp encampment within the city. While the interim ordinance is in effect, the city will study land use and other impacts associated with the tent encampment. Nothing has happened. People who don't go to the shelter have no place to live. Nowhere. Everywhere they want to be is illegal. Aloha Motel sits there. An emergency ordinance, just sign the paper, Mayor Linville. Let people go to the Aloha Motel. They can park their cars, their RVs. They can tent there safely. They can be there without being at risk of dying.
Thank you, Amy. Okay, next we will hear from Colin Steele, Chrissy Bagongal, and Hannah Van Amen.
Hello. Am I on? Yeah. Colin Steele, Bellingham resident. My wife and I are pretty new to the community. We came here, we were looking for an apartment, and going through Craigslist and all the different places you look when you're looking for an apartment, we kept coming again and again on the ads. It would say, no Section 8, no Section 8, no Section 8. And we're not Section 8 recipients, but it just struck me as odd that in a community that it has a homelessness problem and is wanting to fix that problem, it seems it's a paradox to me, and maybe the council can help me understand. What good does it do to offer Section 8 to people who are battling homelessness and then turning around and making it legal for landlords to discriminate against those that are on Section 8? To discriminate against those that are on Section 8, to evict those that are on that receive Section 8. It just seems like a very strange thing to me, and I would really like the council to perhaps answer that with some satisfaction. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we'll hear from Chrissy McGon, I'm not sure how to say it, and Hannah Van Amen.
Hi, my name is Chrissy McGonigal. I'm a member of the Bellingham and Whatcom Socialist Alternative and a supporter of the growing Bellingham Tenants Union. I wanted to say, in response to that, actually, I'm in support of the ordinance for adopting protections for residential tenants, which addresses the need for making illegal the discrimination by landlords of people with Section 8 vouchers and other kinds of housing assistance. And I'm happy to hear that the ordinance was finalized this afternoon, and I am looking forward to the vote next meeting. I'm fully in support of, even better, this meeting. Yeah, and I wanted to say thank you to the Bellingham Tenants Union and also to Homes Now Not Later for the grassroots campaigns that they have forged that are creating the base from which the mass movement for housing justice in Bellingham can grow. I'm a student at Western and a renter in Bellingham. The accounts of abuse by predatory landlords and land management companies that I've heard both from students and workers alike are appalling and widespread. I want to say that the passing of this ordinance is only among the first steps of the fight for affordable and accessible housing in this city, and that we as a community will continue to organize in the face of adversity and of bureaucracy. We will continue to fight until housing and security is treated not as a commodity, but as a right. Thank you.
Thank you, Chrissy McGonigal. Next we'll hear from Hannah Van Amen, Galen Hers, and then Mark Maharg.
Hi, I'm Hannah. I'm from Bellingham. Thank you for having me today. I'm in a class in Western that focuses on environmental justice. Race and income are the largest predictors of living near sources of pollution, whether in air or water. Environmental justice is a rising field, and we recently discussed those experiencing homelessness should be considered a part of vulnerable populations in discussions around environmental injustice. In Bellingham, people experiencing homelessness have no place to exist because existing in public has become illegal from ordinances in place by their own government. Much like pollution, those experiencing homelessness exist but are expected to be unseen and invisible. Policies are passed that leave them without the resources they need and push them farther from the limited resources they already have. They are members of our community, but they are too often pushed to the periphery. In an article called Treating People Like Pollution by Leslie Martin, I found this quote kind of really sums up my feelings about Bellingham's policies. The founding principle of environmental justice is that environment is not some place out there, but it is all the places where humans work, sleep, eat, play, and otherwise carry out their lives. Environmental injustices happen when people are deprived of clean air, water, and the necessary to perform these activities, without access to which people's ability to survive, let alone prosper, is severely diminished. Achieving true environmental justice requires an acknowledgement of all people's human rights, the first and foremost of which is that no person should be treated like pollution, and all people have a right to visibly exist and take part in their communities of their choice. These are members of our community that need better support from their government. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. So Galen Hers, and then our last speaker will be Mark McHarg.
Good evening, Council. My name is Galen Hers. I'm a member of the Bellingham Tenants Union, and I just wanted to thank you all for your support of the ordinance that's going to ban source of income discrimination. I managed to watch some of the discussion earlier with the Committee of the Whole, and it's a small step, but it's very necessary, and just want to thank you all for that. And also wanted to reiterate my support for safe camping and parking in the city, and I hope that the ordinance for emergency encampments, that the city can work with Homes Now and the churches and other groups that are interested in making this happen and find common ground. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we'll hear from Mark.
City Council, Mayor, I'm Mark McCarg of Cowgill Avenue, Bellingham. I'm here to speak regarding two issues. One is a serious safety issue on Cowgill Avenue between 15th and 16th Street. And the second is a lack of response or even acknowledgement of my letters and personal visits to the mayor's office to arrange a meeting to discuss the hazards, as contact with Public Works was of no assistance. Now, on the first issue, we need a street lamp on the corners of 15th and 16th and Cowgill Avenue. On some nights, people can't see their hands in front of their face. School kids walk the street after school activities, dog walkers, and everybody in the area use it as a thoroughfare. It connects to trails at both ends, so it's a popular avenue to take. In the past, we've had drug deal rendezvous, malicious mischief, and burglaries. And the police did come and help with those issues. Over a year ago, a woman walking her dog walked into a no parking sign, cracking her glasses. And about 3 weeks ago, a neighbor fell into the ditch walking home from shopping. There's no curbs or sidewalks, so when it's black, you can't see anything. She's okay. I helped her out. The second issue was lack of response. I wrote the City Council and the Mayor's office on December 6th, 2016, that's before last year, after the Public Works simply said to me in writing, we don't have to install street lamps. We don't have the funds for them anyway. Now, this is in a city of thousands of street lamps, dozens of models of street lamps. We need two, one on each end of the street, to see down the street. Let's see. I do have to say, I wrote again on January 2nd this year, and again visited the mayor's office to schedule a meeting, and still nothing, though Councilman Knutson did write me back and resent my letter to Public Works, and then even called Public Works, asking them to get in contact with me, and that didn't happen. Now, this is a long period of time going by over all this. This is really not what we expect and need from our city government, this kind of reply and response. There are other issues I've written about.